what's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. It's Season 2, Episode 7 of Off the Puck Hockey on the FHN Network. I'm your host, Tyler Fines. You can catch Off the Puck on Rogers TV, Channel 20, every Saturday night at 9 p.m. You can also view our live recordings on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Just follow at Off the Puck Hockey for dates and times. Come check us out. Leafs fall to Ottawa, losing 4-3 after Hutchinson led in 2 of 3 in the first period. I'm sure Adam Ellis did have a heart attack during the game. Then it's yanked. Anderson comes in, gives up a couple soft ones, and then desperation kicked in, and Sheldon Keefe pulled the goalie with 6 minutes and 30 seconds left and ended up burying a couple. But we're going to talk to our guest tonight. But first, I want to introduce the boys. We're going to discuss it as a panel. I'd like to say hello again to Mr. Adam Stiles and Mike Walker. What's up, boys?
What's going on?
Good. Thanks for making it this week. Guys,
we try some weeks. We try.
Yeah, that's all right. Leave me high and dry.
Hey, just like Johnny said, coming into it, kids get in the way sometimes, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know that, too.
But look, we're joined by one of the smartest hockey minds that personally I've come across in coaching. Former player for Oswego and Buffalo State. He's now the current head coach of the Ryerson Rams, one of the youngest coaches in the league. Please welcome to the show, Mr. John Duco. What's going on?
Going on fine. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. Real excited to have you on. Been trying to get you on for some time. I know Mike's got a lot of questions like about how to pass the puck, how to shoot the puck, so we're going to probably cover all the basic fundamentals today. And I figured you'd be the guy to do it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, you know what? You've been head coach there since 2013, and, we've went through an awful COVID year. Talk just a little bit about what you've been doing during this COVID times to keep the boys in shape and keep your mind, hustling.
Yeah, in the first semester, it was a little bit easier for us when the news first broke that, the first semester would be canceled because, we could, try to look at it as a glass half full mentality. And, we were able to get on the ice September, October, and November and continue to train under the protocols in small groups and whatnot. And, at least that was, something for the guys away from school, get their mind off it for their mental health and, to stay active and ready. And, once the news broke that, the season was officially canceled, and then that, accompanied by, a lockdown where we weren't able to practice anymore. It's definitely been tough, but our advice to the guys is, spend the time with your family, enjoy yourself, focus on your school. And I think that's what we've been most proud of. We had our best GPA our team's ever had in the first semester this year, a 3.3 team GPA, and Coach Corey Chevry leads the way, with the guys in that area. And so we're real proud of, taking a tough time, but, using it to their advantage and, buckling down in school. And some guys have fast tracked their degrees where they might graduate a little sooner. Doesn't help me with recruiting, but, potentially find themselves into a master's program and, can get things moving a little bit on the education front. So been really proud of the way the guys have handled it. It's definitely been a challenge from going from, team Zoom calls to individual Zoom calls to smaller group Zoom calls to, now just, trying to connect with, one player a day to, remain connected and, offering support to the guys on our team. So it's definitely been a trying time for all, but, we're looking forward to, getting back on the ice, sooner than later and gearing up for next season.
Perfect. Well, I want to go back because I want to ask you about your coaching staff and kind of the dynamic, but you know what? I know Adam's going to love this. We're going to lead with some Leaf stuff because when I knew I had you on, I wanted to talk about this was, and Mike, you'll get in on this too, is, Leafs obviously lost the game on the weekend. We normally just cover them for a little bit, but I was more interested in the scenario that occurred, which was obviously down 4-1, and Sheldon Keefe decides to pull the goalie with 6 minutes and 30 seconds left to put, to give their boys a chance. I just want to know what you thought about that. And we'll maybe go around the horn. Styles, what did you think about that? And then I want to hear John's answer.
I like it. Aggressive. It's kind of scary. That much time left in the game going for it, but with all the offensive weapons that the Leafs have, it's you have them all out there passing the puck. If you get them all in the zone passing the puck around, it's pretty hard to stop. Especially a team like Ottawa, although they beat us, so I can't say much of it. But I like it. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, what about you?
I mean, if the goalies aren't doing the job, you might as well put the extra attacker out there.
Have you ever pulled a goalie that early? Like, what's your record of goalie pull times?
Oh, every time we pull the goalie, we get scored on and the game's over. So Nathaniel Brooks and I joke about it a lot. We're very we're almost old school like Graham Wise was when we started at Ryerson. Around a minute, let's give the guys a chance 5-on-5. But we did have a scenario last year when we played against York where I think it was similar. It was a 3-goal lead by us, and Russ Harrington pulled their goalie with about 7 minutes left. And he did the same thing that Sheldon did, where changed the goalie on the fly, and he had him back in the net twice, and he had him pulled twice, but essentially for the entire 7.5 minutes, and they hit the post with seconds left where they would have tied the game up. And the one thing it did do to us then in our reflection after the game was it really put us on our heels. And I think that's the one thing I noticed in the Leaf game last night. Obviously, if Tkachuk buries that, clear cage, empty netter, we're not talking too much about it, but otherwise, it really put Ottawa on their heels. And unique setup with one defenseman, 4 forwards, and then pull the goalie for another forward. So a lot of firepower. You could tell they couldn't exit the zone because they were all over them, and obviously then create some havoc around the net, and Nylander scores, makes that nice pass for a goal. But I think it definitely puts the opposition on their heels, and if you're down by a bunch, why not?
Knock on wood, I'm a habitual goalie puller. I am. I've pulled goalies at some of the weirdest times, and if anyone's ever, like, even in minor or whatever, I don't know why. And I've had luck with it. More good luck than bad luck. I don't know why. And again, maybe that trio fall eventually, but it's worked out pretty good. So I was a huge fan of it, and I was hoping there was a lot of people going like, what, give our top guys a chance. Goalies can skate; they'll get there, right? No, I was a big fan, but I did not like the loss.
No,
that's a tough. You don't want to be giving
vacation
up 2 or
mode
3.
early.
Yeah, John, what's the quickest you ever pulled a goalie?
I think 2's my quickest. I don't think I've ever pulled them, but I pulled a goalie after 2, and then put him back in like 7 minutes later to start the second period fresh, just to try to not use the timeout and use it as like a little bit of a we need to wake up on a road game. And I think that was the interesting part for me about last night's Leaf game is it's something obviously on a much lower scale though that sometimes we talk about is we'll get feedback from the group that they want to travel on the day of a game to say Windsor. We don't want to leave Thursday and miss school and sleeping in our own bed. Like, let's just go Friday morning, get there, play, come home with 2 points. And when the boys kind of sell it that way, you're like, all right, let's do it. And you get down there and you lose a game and you're flat because you've been on the bus. You're going like, well, not listen to them next time, right? So I wonder if there was a little bit of that with the Leafs, if they go to the leadership group and they go to some of those guys and say, like, here's the scenario. Would you rather stick around or go Sunday morning? And, I bet the group said, let's go Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's what apparently there was something in the I can't remember where I saw it on Twitter that they had that conversation or something like that. And sorry, let me back it up. That the coaching staff made the decision, but the players didn't have a say. I think that's when it went down. I want to reread it, and I'll send it out there because that is a very good point. But Styles, you were a goalie. What was the quickest you ever got pulled, time-wise or goal-wise? Do you remember? I never got pulled because
exactly. That's the answer. No, I never really got pulled quick. Or maybe after the first period, I had a bad first period and got pulled after that, but nothing too quick. Nothing. Yeah.
Mikey, what about you? What's your string? You seem like a guy with a short leash.
No, you know what? Like you're talking pulling the goalies, and Johnny said, he doesn't have much luck, and you did. We're kind of like in Dover here. We're kind of 500 with it. Like the odd time we'll get scored on with the net empty, and the odd time we'll score. So,
yeah. What about an actual goalie though? Like, what about pulling a goalie? Like when you feel like they never have it. Like, what's the quickest you ever pulled a guy?
Well, it's funny because, I've been an assistant coach since I've come in here, and it's like I'll look at the head coach and it's like, get him out of here, and you look at the clock and there's been 2 or 3 minutes out of the first period. You're down 3-0, so he likes to kind of let the leash go a little bit longer than I would, but he's got a better read for it at that point in time. So I kind of roll with what he says.
Well, according to Twitterland, they said it was the quickest goalie pull since like 1960 or something like that for the Leafs. Yeah, it was a really good tweet. I really enjoyed the tweet. So let's not beat a dead horse here, okay? Because again, the Leafs will be back in action coming.
Friday, Friday.
So, they got a bit of a break.
They said they went on vacation more early.
Need the reset. So John, now that that you guys are closed down, did any of the boys take off to play pro, or did everyone stick around?
A few of our like fifth-year guys that were set to graduate, like Devin Palliani, was looking to play some games in the ECHL. Still hasn't, but there's been a couple guys decide that they're not coming back. No one's played any pro, unfortunately. U Sports came out and made it very clear that if you did go and play pro, that you upon returning would have to sit out a year. So it didn't really make sense for a lot of the student athletes, especially if they were planning on wanting to come back for one more year. And I'll be honest, at the beginning of this, I felt like we might be, because we had an older, more veteran team, that we might be looking at a huge turnover here and potentially having to rebuild the team a bit. And very fortunately, a lot of guys have decided that, hey, I want to come back for one more year and kind of give it one more chance, try to win a championship. And, some guys are going to take a master's program. Some guys are going to take a certificate, and some guys are just able to prolong their degree a little bit and only take a few classes next year. So, really looking forward to getting back with the group.
Perfect. Let's talk a bit about, kind of where you came from. Like you said, if you elite prospects, John Duco, pretty simple. You see the stats, you see the, going through the OJ. Talk about, playing the OJHL and then maybe heading off to Oswego, which is, arguably a Division I caliber program.
Yeah, no, it was, had a very fortunate playing career, played in the GTHL growing up. And then in junior hockey, bounced around a bit, played for a few teams. And, fortunate enough, my 19-year-old year, I found a real good home with who Bob Russell at the time was my coach of the Thornhill Rattlers, or I think we were that year maybe called the Thornhill Major Islanders. And my brother had just been drafted to the OHL, and he was kind of, as a 16-year-old, he had made Kitchener, but decided, hey, I'll go back and be a top player, hopefully in junior, and play on the line with my brother. And so it was kind of just a real unique opportunity where he came back and, we got to play on the same line, and, we had a lot of success. That was my best year statistically, put up pretty good numbers and, gained some interest, from a few Division I schools and a bunch of Division III schools. And, after visiting a bunch of schools, I just felt that Oswego was a great fit. And, I went down there and played 2 years, and, I still have, a lot of really close friends, and, it was a tremendous experience. And, from there, I transferred to Buffalo State, where I played my last 2 years of eligibility, and, a little bit of a playing decision, a little bit of a school decision, a little bit closer to home and all that. So it was, at the time I felt a good opportunity. And, of course I transfer, and the next year Oswego wins the national championship. So the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And I always tell my players that story, I lost out on an opportunity because, I thought maybe there was a better opportunity, but, you live and learn, and you try to share those experiences, with your players. Cause, it does, you're not naive to the fact that we may have players the odd time thinking about, maybe I could play some more somewhere else. And, would that be a better opportunity for me? And, I think in the end, when you make a commitment, it's important that you stick it out. And, but for me, I'm real fortunate, went to Buff State, played 2 years, had a great experience. From there, I went to teachers college and, became a certified teacher and got my master's in education, and moved back to Toronto. And, I started coaching in the GTHL. And from there, I was, really fortunate to get a coaching opportunity with the Bradford Rattlers in the GMHL, with Johan Lundskog, who's, doing, tremendous work himself. And I remember he was on the show here a little bit ago. So I was, real fortunate to get an opportunity there. We had a lot of success. I was able to use, my playing career, my now coaching experience, accompanied with the fact that I was a certified teacher and I had the education part, to land in a position at Ryerson as an assistant coach. And, I learned, a tremendous amount under, head coach at the time, Graham Wise. He taught me so much. He was a head coach in the league for 35 years. And, just a wealth of experience and knowledge that, I was able to gain from him over kind of a 3-year crash course. And at the end of that, he decided to retire. And, very fortunate again that he put in a good word for me to the department and the university where, I was able to get an opportunity as the interim head coach. That year, we had the best record in program history. And, with that, I was kind of able to leverage that into a full-time opportunity and, looking to continue to build the program now. But yeah, that's kind of a quick snapshot of, my playing career into my coaching career and, how I kind of led to where I am now.
Adam, before I jump in here, I need to do this quickly. It's going to take 2 seconds. Johnny, you probably don't remember this. This is the first one of the hold on crap. I gotta take out the virtual background or this thing's not going to work. You remember this?
I can't see it. Can't see it right now. Oh, wait, let me pin you. Oh, yeah. That's
Gentlemen,
awesome.
This is 10 years old. This is the first piece of coaching material I ever received was from John Duco, and it is literally one of the things I still use to this day, a summer and strength and conditioning program, one of the first things I ever received.
You know what? The coach that I had at Buff State, he was very different. Like we had Ed Gozik at Oswego, and Eddie was a laid back, like Southern American kind of guy. Like, nothing really bothered him, real easy going. And, then I got to Buff State, and Nick Carriere was a younger coach, very ambitious, hardworking, and he wanted to instill that in us. And I remember it was like joining the military. We were 6 a.m., runs and workouts, and, we were definitely one of the best in shape teams in the league. And, at the time probably didn't love it, but, looking back, definitely learned a lot and, things that, I probably still, do with my guys today.
It's just like the Port Dover Sailors.
Oh, yeah, pretty close.
Donnie, when did you know you want to get into coaching, and at what point in your career did you know it, or is it kind of at the end of your career you decided that you're just kind of interested, or how'd that go?
Yeah, you know what? It's my dad growing up from the time, my dad tells the story of me being 6 years old. My dad coached our house league team, and we were 17-0-0. And the last game of the season, we tied the white team. And instead of going 18-0, we were 17-0-1. And he's like, you cried in the dressing room for an hour and you cried the whole way home. And you were so devastated that you didn't help lead the team to an undefeated. You felt so and from that moment on, my dad was a coach. He was always one of mine or my brother's age group coach. And, I'd go home and, I'd talk lines with him and who I liked playing with. And I think from a very young age, I've had an eye for the game from a coaching perspective. And, and then I remember, it's funny that Tyler has that, but, I still have all of my practice plans from my 2 years at Buffalo State. And, I remember coming in because we didn't have them at Oswego to the same level of detail, and coming in every day. And it was a very detailed practice plan of, what exactly we were going to be doing, what the power play units were, what the penalty kill units were, what couple face-off plays we were going to run. And I remember being wow, I'm going to need these one day. And I'd take one home every day and, filed it away. And I think that's where I really knew, at some point when I finish playing, I want to coach, and, I might as well start preparing now.
Absolutely. And you got any favorite coaches in the NHL that you look up to and like their style, or try to imitate their style at all, or anything like that? Who would you say is your favorite coach?
I think that's an easy one for me, just because they've been so instrumental in my career. It's Pete DeBoer and Steve Spott in Las Vegas. My brother played for them for 5 years in Kitchener, and our families developed a real good relationship, especially with Steve Spott, where, Spotter comes in the off season, and, he'll sit down with us and we'll talk systems and how things went with us, and, things that they're newly implementing. And, he's been great about kind of sharing and, teaching us and essentially mentoring us as young coaches. So, that's an easy one for me. It's definitely those guys, but I definitely watch with a close eye, obviously, the Toronto Maple Leafs. And, I think Sheldon's one of the best coaches in the league, and, the way he runs his bench, and he's not willing to take, not afraid to take risks and kind of, go against, the normal at times, I think is awesome. And he's definitely somebody that, I look to learn from. And, again, very fortunate. Rich Clune, who's the captain of the Marlies, is a good buddy of mine. And, the same, I can pick his brain a little bit, like what would Sheldon do, or, what's his thinking here, from his time in the Marlies. So, yeah, definitely those two coaches, but, mostly, we try to emulate our game, like Las Vegas and San Jose used to play.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good answers. Who's your early Jack Adams Award winner?
Ooh, good question.
I would have said after Edmonton, Sheldon Keefe, but
yeah. right.
that would have been an easy one. I do love what's going on in Florida.
That's my
love what Joel
Quenneville's
doing, and I love what Florida's doing, and the fact they're getting Bobrovsky back playing the way he's capable now, and
certainly helping my fantasy numbers, Johnny. My fantasy numbers are good.
Me too. I stuck with him, and
yes,
he paid off.
Paying off this year, yeah.
So yeah, I'd probably say him. But again, Vegas, I love watching them and the way they play, and there's so many teams. I've definitely been biased because I'm like everyone, majority watching the Canadian division.
Yeah, for sure. Walks, what do you got?
John, I just kind of want to touch on like coaching here a bit. Being one of the top teams and having all these lower seed teams kind of adjust to what you guys do for systems, how often do you tweak what you run as a breakout 1 or breakout 2?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question, and I think it's something that we want to try to play fast whenever possible, and not essentially let the opposition to get set up on us, but being mindful of that. There's going to be scenarios in a game where the majority of the teams that we do play, they'll put a hard trap on us, whether that's a 1-3-1 in the neutral zone or a 1-4 where they're just 4 across the far blue, and essentially hoping that we try to dangle through the neutral zone to turn pucks over. And I think it's something that we practice every day. When it first started, we'd talk about it and maybe we'd walk through it, and now it's something that we're very proactive about. And to your point, we'll have 2 control breakouts, one for when we're looking to move the puck up the ice quickly, and then we'll have another one for when we know a team's going to just drop back in that trap where we might run a drop, or we might look to run a hard rim, or a different way to get the puck in. But at the end of the day, it's the old cliche, but we can't turn the puck over in the neutral zone. So if you chip it to a good spot where we can retrieve it, if it's a hard rim from the D, that's another hard rule that we do like to play off of is, our D will get center and it's always a hard rim. So now as a forward, if a D gets center and he's, pinched, so he's hard rimming it. So, I can cheat to that other side and try to, bump it back below the goal line. So, definitely something that we adjust, something we pay a lot of attention to in our pre-scouts is our previous game against that team, and what type of trap they're running on us, mostly in the neutral zone.
Yeah, it's funny, Walks, is that I was talking with one of our neighbors today, and he had brought up the idea, like, if you're going to bring coaches on down, maybe closer to August, because he does just house league stuff, but closer to August, bring some of these coaches on and do like a week-long, hockey talk. Right?
Yeah.
Like really get technical with it, right? I mean, we can talk about the booze and the girls and all that all we want, throughout the year and the stories, right? But to actually give back and do some real coaching and teach some of these guys, I think it would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so too. But these guys may not know it, but there's a story from the GMHL when you first, when you were just finishing up with the Rattlers, the team went perfect, 42-0 season, and we talked about it with, but I don't know how many guys, whether it's Bob Russell or just friends of mine. I don't think it's ever been done. Like I can't find a scenario where a team has had basically a perfect regular season to go on and completely win the finals. Talk a bit about just that season and how hard it was to keep those guys focused every game when you guys just running the table on teams.
Well, yeah, no, it was a really special group, and I do think sometimes the GMHL will get the Outlaw League tab when really it's just an independent junior league that put out some great players and great teams over the years, and I think that was just one of them. I think we would have competed in just about any junior A league We had some real quality people on that team. And I think what was funny about it was the very first game of the season, we won 1-0 in overtime, and we scored with like 7 seconds left in overtime. And they hit the crossbar with like literally seconds left in regulation, where we would have lost the first game of the season 1-0, and instead we won that game. And, then we won a couple more close ones there in the first half. And once we got to about 14-0, the guys started to believe and they really wanted it. And I could tell that the group wanted it, and I pushed them hard. I pushed that group harder probably than I've pushed any group I've been a head coach of. And, I think the biggest reason why was, they used to come in and joke and say, like, I can't imagine how hard you're going to skate us if we lose, so we better not lose, because you skate us every day anyways, or our practices are battles, and we compete hard, and, then we're working on skills, like you're getting the most out of us. So I think that was what's special about the group. But at no point did we really think we were going to go 42-0, and until we got into the, into the 20s, into the 30s, like, wow, this is, very doable. And, once we did, complete it at 42-0, it was pretty remarkable. Definitely something I'll always be proud of, and, definitely don't plan on ever doing it again.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about international players in Canada, and the GMHL is one of those leagues that it does allow import players into Ontario, well, across Canada, into playing. Now that GMHL is out west, and I've always been a fan of independent hockey now that I've been in it, and I understand both sides of the coin, Hockey Canada and independent. How great was it to be able to coach international players and see guys like, I'm going to rhyme off some, you already know your team, you can name from top to bottom, and guys like Ills Gallo, Marcus Bergman, some of these guys went off to have pretty decent pro careers when it was over.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nicholas Thalman, I coached against him in OUA for the next 4 to 5 seasons. So I saw him. Andreas Norby also played for Laurentian for a year, and we had brought guys from that team like William Knapp that put up like 100 points as a 16-year-old in the GMHL and had been playing 3 years of pro hockey in Finland. And we brought him over, as a 21-year-old to kind of join us when we were about 20-0, to join us on our run. And I think what was great about that team was, you think back, like we had the Vertanen that were brothers. They ended up, because we had injuries on defense and suspensions, playing defense pretty much half the season. They were brothers, and they had great chemistry as forwards. And, they just figured it out, and they were a left and a right shot. And, they moved pucks up the ice, and they were solid and sound defensively. And, they were selfless enough to say, sure, like, I'm on a great team that, we're trying to do something special. I'll go play D. And we had Miles Nuneker, who was our captain, and, he did the same. He played forward some nights. He played D some nights. He killed penalties. We had guys like Tim Philly out there, blocking shots and, kind of doing that grunt work that you need guys to do. It was just the epitome of a team. We had a little bit of everything. We had 2 remarkable goalies. Johnny Leparco went on to play NCAA hockey, and, he had played 5 years junior. And then we had Reda, who was a young, wicked Swedish goalie that, ended up stealing the net in the playoffs because he had let in something ridiculous, like under 20 goals on the entire season. So eventually we just had to get him in there. We're going like, I get it, Leparco's been great, but this kid's like, I can't even score him in practice. And I was still decent then. I was okay still back then.
Oh, you're still good, this guy. We're going to talk about your men's league team after, but we'll keep talking about this team. Want to know something cool? And I looked this up on Elite Prospects, and I never even noticed this. 11 Canadians, 11 Swedes, 3 American, 2 Swiss, 1 Denmark, German, Italy, and Slovakia. And I think that is so cool. And the coolest part of this, is your captaincy was American, Swedish, Canadian, Swiss. I think that's awesome. How cool is that to be able to do that in Canada? And and you got guys like Don Cherry and them. They're like, oh yeah, don't bring these guys. Like, look how good these kids are and how much they push the envelope here.
Yeah, for sure. And that was what Johan was just fantastic at, was his ability to network and find ways to bring in top end players. He from the when we were 4-0, 8-0. Remember when we were 4-0, we brought in the Vertanens, and then when we were 8-0. We brought in Ills Gallo from Sturgeon Falls. And then we eventually, by the time we were like 15-0, we got Marcus Bergman back healthy, who was, arguably our best player. and then we added, a pro hockey player that had been playing pro for 3 years around the trade deadline. So, Johan didn't settle. He just kept building the team, and, he gave us all the tools to go on the run.
And guess who got waxed quarter? This guy. Absolutely dummied in the quarters, 4-0 by the boys, but it was a good series, and we were just completely outmatched. We gave him a run the best we could, but there was
hung in there.
Yeah, not very well though.
The round before the first game was 15-0, and the other coach was so mad, and we were like, no more scoring, pass it around, but like, our fourth line was burying them, so it was, we didn't do that to you.
No, you didn't. No, I think there were 2 close games and 2 like absolute blowouts. But it was a tough series, and some I'll never forget. I think that was one of the coolest stories, at least in my coaching and playing career. I love hearing about that team.
Hey, Johnny, with coaching's taking like a big change now in today's age compared to old school coaching, and mental health's a big thing in today's game also. How do you kind of approach that with your players, and how do you find the best way to get the best out of your players that you have?
Well, I'm taking notes.
Yeah, well, I mean, at Ryerson, we're very fortunate. We have a full-time counselor that is there for our student athletes at all times. So, first things first, that's a tremendous resource that we do have, that we can, send our athletes, and they can unanimously or contact us as coaches and go and see them. Last year, I was really fortunate. Aaron Armstrong, who's a former player of ours, joined our staff as assistant coach, and he had just finished doing a master's in sports psychology from McGill, and he was a tremendous asset in terms of connecting with our players and really getting to know them and what made them tick, and who was potentially struggling away from the rink. And the one thing I've really found is that authenticity is, how you're going to get the players to trust you and believe in you, that when they do have a problem, that they'll come to you. So, I mean, that's just being yourself. That's, showing them that you care. That's, when we have a meeting, hockey is the last thing we talk about. We talk about their family. We talk about how they're doing in school, how their living's going, how their roommate is. Like, is there anything that bothers them? Is there anything that's stressing them out? We have a list of questions that we go through and we talk about, and then we finish off with, okay, here's, how do you feel on the ice? How are you finding your role? We'll obviously finish with the hockey talk, but I think having those conversations at least once a month is important. And, something that I've done, I got it from an NCAA team, but when we went down to play them a couple of years ago, was, give each player on your team a number 1 to 30. And then on that day of the month, that player and you can connect. And it's just quick. It might only be for, a couple minutes. It might be a text. It might be a coffee after practice. But, that's your day to connect with the head coach. And if anything's bugging you, there's anything you want to get off your chest, and I think just, really building that relationship to the point where now they feel that, I am stressed. I am feeling anxious. I'm going to go talk to the coach and let him know that this is how I'm feeling. And I'd say my first 2 years, I didn't have anybody come in and tell me how they felt and, how things are going. And these last 3 years, I've had a lot of guys come and, express how they're feeling. And, then, we put the wheels in motion and, how we can help them and make sure that we do support them. But, I think it just starts with that, authentic approach that, I'm here for you. I'm willing to talk, and, them truly seeing that you do care and that you will listen and, you will help. And doesn't mean that, you're struggling and now you're going to get to play because you're stressed out because you're not playing and you're going to school and, you don't have a lot of money, and it's like, the things can all build up, and it doesn't mean that you're going to play, but I'm going to show you that I care.
Nice. Yeah, I really like that 1 to 30 system. That's a cool little idea. I want to go over to Calgary there with the coaching change. It kind of came from out of right field to me, anyways. Came after a win, 7-3 win after Ottawa. I mean, they weren't doing the best in the season, but they weren't doing the worst either. What do you think with bringing a guy like Sutter back in, and what do you think kind of message that sending to the team and sending the coach home? He didn't really get like even that long of a shot as head coach to prove himself. And what do you think the message is to the team with bringing a veteran like Sutter and sending a guy with like how they did?
So it definitely seemed short. I thought that, it wasn't, necessarily all on the coach, but, I have no insider information or nowhere to know, but, I do feel that, when these types of decisions are made, the leadership of a team is so crucial and vital. And the GM, if he's talking to the leadership group and they're saying, maybe he's lost the room, he's going to make a move. And, I find it hard to believe that, a move like that would have been made without, some sort of consultation with the leadership group and, potentially some feedback that, they think a change might be necessary.
Sure.
And I did hear them come out and say if it wasn't going to be Sutter, they weren't going to make a move. So I don't know how much truth there is to that. And then, obviously you see Sutter's style of play is that old school, slow them up, trap it up, plug the neutral zone, wait for mistakes, capitalize on mistakes, kind of, brand of hockey that kind of, the NHL seems to have gotten away from. And, maybe it's the change they needed. I won't lie. Like I had the Leafs coming second in the Canadian division. I had Calgary coming first. So, not that I'm any hockey expert, but, I felt they were going to be a real good team. I love Markstrom in net. You had a guy like Tanev that always makes his partner better. You're loaded with, offensive weapons, up top, no true star, which is maybe, a bit of a knock on them. But yeah, I had them pegged as a real good hockey team. And when you're sitting in fifth place out of the playoffs, it's a business. And, if you do get any sense from the leadership group that, maybe he's lost the room a bit or, they're not buying into what he's selling, then, the GM's going to make a move. And I think that's ultimately what happens. I think that the leadership group plays such a, vital part and has such a voice.
Yeah, and Wilkes, before you take it over, I heard a stat how you said defensive. There's a stat on him, I guess, last game that they're 2-0 with him under the bench, and his last game I think they had a total of 4 scoring chances. That's all they had the whole game, just so defensively. Yeah. I was like, that's so crazy. Like,
there's teams, Laurier plays like that in our league, and in the second half last year they went on a run and they were tough to beat and they trapped it up, and they'd have games where they had 15 shots on net, but they were beating top teams in the league. And not a pretty style, but if you've got the team and you stick to it and you're committed to it, teams will make mistakes.
Yeah. And Finds, did you follow Ryan Leslie on social media at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you see his picture of Sutter's skates that he had?
Yeah, the old.
I
got a better. Actually, no, maybe Johnny wants to tell the story. There's probably a better one about Sims.
Oh, Al Sims' skates. Those were the oldest. I couldn't believe those things.
Dude, Sutter's look new compared to Al.
Oh, seriously, eh?
That's Johnny. I got evidence.
Sutter's look like my dad's.
Al's were like 20 years older than that, and Al would be in the corner working cutbacks, like teaching junior A hockey players cutbacks, and he was still good in them.
That's awesome.
I gotta get. Listen,
what a legend! You gotta get Al on
too. Yeah, we talked about that with Johan too when he was on the show back when. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how he even moved. He couldn't. They didn't look like he stood up.
the old leather.
The old leather boot.
Awful. That's awesome.
Johnny, I just want to touch on, like, you get into rebuilds and recruit skates. How much do you and your coaching staff look at a player's resume versus their talent when they're on the ice? So compare a player who's played in the OHL for 4 years versus a guy who's maybe played junior B or junior A hockey on the ice.
This is the most prepared he's been, by the way, since we started this whole thing. Like, you're on fire tonight. Like, I need you to bring this A game every night, Watson.
He needed that week break, man. He just needed a break.
Jesus, you're on fire. I'm loving it.
I think the beautiful thing about our league is, we're looking for talent from all over the country at all levels. The makeup of our team is majority major junior players, and with that is a few reasons, and the biggest is the financial. They get their tuition and books package where, living in downtown Toronto obviously isn't cheap. And, with the scholarship we can provide on top of, the tuition books package they have, it makes it very affordable. And, when we can, try to get some of those top players from major junior, those are the players that, we do need, to be successful. That being said, Aaron Armstrong, played 4 seasons of junior C hockey, a little bit of junior B hockey. Then he went over and played for Breakouts College. We had some guys who had skated with him in the summer, and his cousin actually, they're twins, Trevor and Tyler Kaverko. They're good friends, played with my brother growing up, former NHL draft pick, and one played at Western. And they're like, I tell you, like, we're on the ice, there's a bunch of OHL players, a bunch of pros, and this Aaron Armstrong's the best player on the ice. We had him come and skate with us, and, I was blown away. He was a smaller guy, one of those rare players. He looks smaller in his hockey equipment than he does off the ice because everything's like super old and tiny, and but he gets out there and he's one of the most skilled players on the ice. And we decided to take a chance on him and bring him in. And his first year, he was solid for us. He was a third, fourth line guy, and he came back his second year determined to be a top player, and ended up putting up 46 points, and was a top end elite player at our level. And another one is Greg DiTomaso, who had played in the OHL and didn't find himself as an overager and played junior B for St. Catharines. And we went and watched him, and there were some teams in our league that questioned his skating, and but we loved his vision. He made a great first pass. We really felt that his offensive instincts and his competitiveness would fit well in our systems, and we took a little bit of a chance on him. And this past year, he was OUA Defenseman of the Year, and he's developed into a player that I think when he's done next year can play some games in the AHL or some high-end hockey overseas. So and there's a bunch. We've got Brandon Glover that came from the London Nationals Junior B team, and Adam Kravich and Jesse Barwell that played for Caledonia. And then obviously we got players from the Quebec League, players from the WHL, Division I transfers, OHL players. We got players from all over the country.
Cool. That's awesome. What, Walks, you're on fire. You got another one going? I think you guys sound like you're teed up tonight.
No,
he's in the man cave. You can think a little bit.
No, it is. It's because he's the coach, right? He's got a coach on. He's trying to drill and trying to.
He finds he's got to be in the man cave more often.
I know. Well, he said he's going to be in the man cave.
He's relaxed there.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. John, tell me a little. What's top of your head, best you can think of. What's been the most challenging time for you as a coach, whether it was with the U Sports or even in your time in the GMHL? Do you recall a time where you really had to make a very difficult decision?
Maybe
out of the norm.
Yeah, I think we had a fifth year, 2 years in a row, identical situation. I handled it differently the second time, and I think it really paid off. But 2 years in a row, a fifth year assistant captain that just found themselves in a position where they were going to be out of the lineup, and really tough conversation to have with someone who's a leader on the team, has given so much to the program, but we just felt that we had to do what was best for the team, and in that particular time wasn't in our 12 best or 6 best defensemen, and had to make those tough decisions. And I think the first time didn't communicate it well enough, and it kind of blew up in my face, and was definitely a learning experience. And sure enough, a year later, we're in the exact same position, but it's not a forward, it's a defenseman, and it's a very similar scenario. And, we were very upfront and honest, and, didn't sugarcoat it, and just said, like, you're still a valuable part of the team. And every team, you've ever been on has 7 defensemen, right? And right now that's you, and you're still a huge part of the team, and we're going to need you again. And, that player ended up playing every playoff game for us. And, really proud of the way they stuck to it. They were a great teammate. They worked hard. A couple games later, they came in and played on the fourth line forward, and then by the playoffs, they were back in the lineup, on a regular basis contributing. So I think, those are the experiences. I think the hardest thing at our level is telling kids who do everything that's asked that they can't play. And, when, we don't have a choice but to carry 16 forwards and 9 defensemen because there's no junior team to call up from or no minor league team. Like, what we have is what we have, and injuries happen, and there's academic issues, and, there's different things that, happen over the course of the season where, our lineup is often never the same twice in a row. So there's a lot of turnover, and, really getting out in front of the fact that there's going to be roster change. There's going to be lineup change. Like, if you're not in a place you are today, work hard, continue to do the little things. And a week from now, you might find yourself in a position that you want to be in, and then try to hold on to it. I think that's been, getting out in front of, explaining that to the guys. So when they find themselves in that position, they're not like, no clue what to do.
On your coaching staff, you have Corey Chevrier, and it's one of, I'm pretty sure it's the only female coach at the level that works on the men's team. And I want to talk to you about how kind of that dynamic works. And I'm like I said, I think she's the only one.
Yeah, I think it's something we've taken a lot of pride in, is having arguably the most diverse coaching staff in the world. Obviously, with Nathaniel as a black coach, and someone who I think is a rising star in the game. We have Chris Beckford too as our goalie coach, and then Corey as the only female coach in the league. I think it's a space that we've been leaders in, and it's something that I've been really proud of our group, and we've faced some comments and some challenges along the way, and I think it's just bonded us all together and made us even stronger. And I think what makes it so unique is everyone brings an area of an expertise where I think they really add value to the staff, and I think that's what's really helped drive our program. And everyone can kind of focus on their area and what makes them successful, and we learn from each other, and we work hard, and we like winning, so we like putting the work in.
Johnny, I want to touch on Buffalo Sabres. The Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
Let's
go.
What is going on over in Buffalo? What do you feel? What do you feel is their problem, and why they just can never figure it out over there?
I don't know, because Buffalo gets a bad rap, and I personally, I love Buffalo. I've got some great friends in Buffalo. My wife's got family in Buffalo, and her family, immediate family lives in Rochester, but they're all Bills and Sabres fans. And when I was playing at Buck State, that was the Drury, Briere, Derek Roy, and the Sabres were sick.
Yeah.
And the city was buzzing, and there was so much positivity around the team. And it seems like since that era, I guess basically it's been rebuild after rebuild. And I've got some good buddies that have played there, and haven't had positive experiences. And I don't know what the problem is, because I'm not there firsthand, but I think you get to a certain point, you can't blame the coach. That's for sure. Like you brought in a coach that's a world-class communicator, and you obviously see the headlines throwing him under the bus. And I think at this point you cut your losses with Eichel and Hall, and you move them out for as much as you can get, and you keep trying to build around Darlene and some of the young core last first round picks, great kids, guys you can build around, character, hardworking guys. And I think sadly it's another it's the start of another rebuild. And I saw an article today, the one that TSN did, and they ranked like the 32 teams including Seattle. And they put
above. Yeah, I seen that.
And Buffalo 32. I was like, wow.
Yeah. It's like,
that's ruthless.
Yeah, I seen that too. I got a good laugh too. I was like, that is ruthless. Yeah.
Like
I love it.
That's bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. And another one, Johnny, I like to ask all coaches, what's your stance on the coaches challenge in the NHL?
I love it. I think you want to get it right. At the end of the day, like it's a stoppage in the game. And, I think the offside one, sometimes you're getting a little nitpicky, but, I even think the Envel goal, the other game where, he drives the net, and like maybe the goalie couldn't have got there, but like before, that's just a goal, and like, shut up. We're not even talking about it.
Exactly.
Get away, if that happens in our league, like that's just a goal.
Absolutely.
What are you crying about? Like he went to the net, that's how you play, right? So I think there's that fine line of kind of where does it end. But I think at the end of the day, with all the technology that's available today, you want to make sure you get it right. And more times than not, they seem to get it right. So I like it a lot more in hockey than I do in baseball. Like baseball, it takes forever. And
Baseball,
Findsy knows I'm a big baseball guy, so real into the Jays and whatnot. But
nice.
Drives me crazy in baseball. It takes too long. I don't mind it in hockey.
Got an exciting year coming up, though. Exciting few years ahead of us.
And I know one thing Tyler probably remembers about me. I used to be pretty hard on refs. A little bit of a reputation for getting on the refs. And the last 2 years, my brother has became a ref, and he refs in the AHL and refs, some games in the OHL, trying to get back to the NHL as a ref. And I actually brought on an assistant coach, Andrew Buck, that was a former captain of ours. And then he played some pro hockey in the ECHL for Brampton Beasts, and then did some reffing in the coast in the OHL, before settling into a career at Molson. And he volunteers and helps out with us as well. And he's there and he keeps me calm. Like, hey, that was a penalty. Leave it alone. And my brother, the first bit, I would send my brother a clip and say, hey, look at this. How did he not call it? Nope, not a penalty. So it's given me a new sense of reality where I'm like, you know what? And the other thing he says is, he's like, I'll ref a game. I don't even remember who won. The ref's not out to get you. Just leave them alone. So I've been, something I've taken some pride in is I've been better with refs lately.
Well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. At one point there, I thought we were gonna have an intervention. But glad to see you come. Glad to see you come around. But fucking ruthless. Well, now I'm the one. Maddie, edit it out.
Yeah.
Good. Johnny, I just want to see kind of what's your take here. If you had to compare yourself to any of the NHL coaches today, who would be your pick and why would you pick that coach?
Well, that's a tough one because, obviously, Pete DeBoer is my guy, and he's definitely who I look up to. But I'll throw you a little curveball for this one. And, been real proud of the recovery and, the way he's kind of jumped back on St. Louis's bench is Jim Montgomery. I think Jim's one of the best offensive hockey minds in the game. I think now that, he's, back, on his own 2 feet and, sober and, seeming to, be in a great spot. I think sky's the limit, for whatever team, gets him as their next head coach. I've had the opportunity to listen to him speak a few times and, built a relationship before he left for the NHL where Ryerson, we were going to go down and play Denver. He's just, such a smart hockey mind. And I've never sat and talked hockey with someone and been so wowed. He just the way he explains it and, the way Denver played and, the way he had Dallas playing. I think he's, a true star and definitely someone I aspire to be as a coach.
We were just quickly talking about Buffalo, and we got some really good hockey players coming through. You have Shane Wright coming up, and I don't know if anybody's been able to check out the highlights from Connor Bedard out in the Western Hockey League.
Another Connor?
Have you ended up? Connor Bedard? John? Have you been watching him at all, or been watching this kid?
Oh, I haven't.
I'm telling you, boys, and I want to touch on it. This
is
kid,
he rated to go up there?
He is the first and only player in the WHL to get exceptional status. And this
I heard about it.
If you watch his first goal of the year, and they go in for the group hug after the goal, he's 10 inches shorter than everybody else in the ice.
Oh, seriously? Eh?
Oh God, he's so small. But my God, he got 4 points in 2 games already. Three goals playing for the Regina Pats. This kid, and I've seen him play. I just want to 3 goals and assist already in his first 2 games. I just want to rhyme off some stats here because I'm a big fan of this kid. I just want to shout him out quick.
Yep.
We're at the 7 draft day hockey selects at the WA size U13 player played 7 games, had 32 points. That's against some of the best players. If you ever played spring hockey in your life, these are the best, arguably some of the best hockey players at that age in the world. This guy's got 32 points in 15 games, and he's got already. And last season, before they shut down, this kid had, I think it was 88 points. 88 points in 30 games.
Mm.
Yeah, he's all right.
Those sound like my men's league numbers in my mid-20s.
And before you go, Johnny, we got a few minutes left. I just quickly wanted to talk about your men's league hockey team and talk about where you brought these guys. Talk about who's on the team And like, it's gonna blow your mind, boys. Like, this team can kick the crap out of a lot of hockey clubs currently.
Yeah, so we were, we still exist, the Dusters. We started when I was like in my early 20s, and my brother Mike Duco played for Vancouver and Florida. We had Rich Clune on our team, Anthony and Chris Stewart, Wayne Simmons, James Neal, and then a whole bunch of minor pro, NCAA, college players, and we would just smash the league.
Oh, I guess
Talk about Japan.
So we went to 2 years in a row. We went to a tournament in Hong Kong, and we took like Keith Primo with us and Todd Warner and a bunch of like old veterans. And the first year we did, first game we got there, we played Team Abu Dhabi, and we're like, oh, like these guys are gonna be like whatever, we'll smack them. Like, look at our team, and like no one took it that serious. And their whole team was guys from the DEL, and they pumped us 6-1. We were like,
seriously?
What the hell did we like? We have like 5 NHL guys. Like, we're like a legit team, and we just got shit kicked, embarrassed. Like tournament opener. So we buckled down, and we saw them in the finals, and we beat them. And then the next year, there was a team that we beat in the semis. That was the guy who funded our team. His name was Shell Hutton. He owns like this big cruise deep sea diving company over in Asia, and like his like company that they rival with sent a team the next year as well, and Carter Hutton was their goalie from Buffalo. So we get to the finals, and we run into Carter Hutton, and we're like, all right, this is going to be a battle, and we end up pulling out the win, and we were 2-time Hong Kong Cup champions, and
Nice.
it was a once in a lifetime experience. It was truly like the most fun I've ever had. A week in Hong Kong with a bunch of real good buddies, and an awesome experience. And we won the tournament. Now we're all old and married and have kids and whatnot. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we've gone to tournaments in Montreal, and I didn't get to go, but the guys also went to Bangkok once for a tournament. So lots of fun. Real good group of guys, and then now we still play in the downtown men's league. It's an A league in downtown Toronto here, and we haven't won it. It's a wicked league, and there's a lot of really good young teams now. So we're kind of like that older team that plays well together, but we haven't been able to get the job done. I don't get to play very often because it's a weekend league, and we're always playing at Ryerson. So I only get about 5-6 games in a year.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy? It's no Cambridge A league, okay? At the sports park.
Sick. I want to come watch.
Yeah,
I know, it's insane when he tells me these stories about how they play. But anyways, that's crazy. Listen, John, I like I said, I knew this was going to be great. And this is probably, since I started this show, this has been the fastest it's gotten to our time, hands down. I just want to thank you for coming on. I know the boys really appreciate it. And like I said, you're an up-and-coming coach. I've always enjoyed having you on and learning from you. So I wish you all the best as always, and hope we can get you back here when we have our coaches week.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Looking forward to it. And it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Listen, thanks again to our guest, John Duco, for taking the time to join the show today. Just a reminder, Off the Puck Hockey, every Saturday night, Rogers TV Channel 20. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, at Off the Puck Hockey, Spotify, iTunes. Check out the pod. We're going to drop this one on Thursday, so make sure you guys check it out. I'm your host, Tyler Fines, and with me, as always, my co-hosts, Adam Stiles and Mike Walker, when they want to show up. Our producer, Matt Huddle, behind the scenes, making the magic happen. Marty Zilcher for providing the theme music, and this is Off the Puck Hockey. Let's go.
Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Johnny.
See you guys.